Most people are trying to land a job in AI that barely exists. They're learning all the tutorials, they're going through all the courses on Udemy, on Coursera, etc. They're learning about LLMs, the architecture, what the attention mechanism is, what the attention layer is, and learning about GPTs right from the ground up. But that is the wrong thing to be learning for most people, actually. You're going down into these architecture type studies. You're learning the research papers, and you think that this is going to help you land a role if you're able to explain what an LLM is, how it's built up, and you're able to explain NLP concepts. And to be honest, a lot of companies do ask for it, but it's not really what gets you the job at all, really. And you're not going to get it if you're doing it the same way that you're doing it right now, because you're learning things which aren't exactly applicable to a business at all. Like, a business doesn't care about what the architecture of an LLM is. They don't care about a mixture of experts models. They care about the end goal of getting the job done, right? The end goal of making money at the very, very end of it. But at least from an AI engineer, hey, are you able to do the task that we need to do? Are you able to deploy LLM workloads? Are you able to build something that is useful to the company? And a lot of people are not preparing for that. You're preparing for something very, very different. You're preparing for kind of academic stuff, right? You're taking this as a university lecture, and it's not gonna pay any dividends down the line. You have to understand that AI is layered, and there are different tiers of AI when we talk about landing a job in AI. And most people know this, but they don't understand what the layers are, what the tiers are. So let me explain to you. There are three overarching layers that you really need to know about within AI. The very top, the very first layer of AI is the research layer, right? So this is like PhD level candidates, people who are building and training LLMs from the ground up. They are experimenting with the latest training techniques. They are experimenting with the latest models and architecture, and they're advancing the field of AI forwards and putting out academic papers. Chances are you are probably not in that layer at all. So you do not need to know about the architecture of LLMs. You do not need to know about mixture of expert models. You do not need to know how the weights and biases are calculated in LLMs, right? That's the wrong thing to be learning. You're going to spend so much of your time and energy on it. It's going to yield no benefits at all. That is a very, very specialized role, or very, very specialized tier for those who are PhD level, not even master's level, like PhD level, who are doing research and have been in the research field for a while. They command the highest salaries in the millions now as well. And that's an average of what these researchers are making, and it will probably increase as demand and as the AI field expands. To get there is a very, very long and tedious journey. I do not recommend it for most people. Tier 2, this is where a lot of people will lie, especially for those of you who are getting into coding and who are trying to learn Python, and you're learning RAG systems. You're learning how to deploy LLM workloads or build LLM workloads. Most of you aren't even deploying, so let's not even talk about that. But tier 2 is the builder level, okay? This is where people are taking LLMs. You haven't built LLMs, the researcher level built the LLMs, but you're taking those LLMs and you're building useful products out of it, and you're getting to an end goal with it, right? So you're just calling the API. You don't know how the LLM is built. All that you're doing is you understand the differences between different LLMs. You understand which models will work better for the task that you're trying to do. So for example, Claude, very famously, is really, really good at coding tasks. So if there is something that requires coding in your AI workflow that you need to build for your company, for a business, for a client, then you know that Claude is the safest model to go for, right? Very, very, it's a fantastic model to use for coding and mathematical related tasks. ChatGPT, those models like GPT-5, 5.1, 5.2, they are great for brainstorming sessions, for a more high level discussion. So if you have a scenario where you need an LLM to kind of orchestrate a workflow or to build a high level plan of what needs to be done, GPT models from OpenAI, fantastic models, right? So you know the tasks that each LLMs are good at, and you just call the API. You do not need to know how these models work. You just need to know how to integrate it into a system. That's the builder level. But the skills required of a builder level is very different from what people think. You'd think that data scientists, machine learning engineers, they are a good fit for this role. They're not as good of a fit as you think. And if you're coming from that kind of a background, I'm sorry, but you're not as good of a fit as you think. You're partially there simply because of your coding skills. So if you know Python and you know machine learning to some extent, even if it's a beginner level, you're in a much better position. But you are not as good of a position as a software engineer might be who doesn't know anything about machine learning or data science at all, because you don't really need to know machine learning or data science to be able to use LLMs and build products out of them. You need to know how to build products. You need to be able to build systems and workflows. That's what software engineers are really, really good at, right? Building systems. And this is what data scientists really, really lack. So a little bit of a bubble burst. I know, I understand. It was a bit of a bubble burst for me when I kind of figured it out. But yeah, more machine learning knowledge is not going to help you in the field of AI, especially what is being deemed as AI right now. Machine learning is definitely incorporates under AI. Deep learning definitely incorporates under AI. But when you look at AI engineering job descriptions, you look at those descriptions and you tell me whether those include machine learning or those include deep learning knowledge. They're not. All they require is like LLMs and RAGs, right? That's all you really need to know about to land most AI engineering jobs. So that is something you need to know. You probably fit in tier 2, but you're not learning the skills of the tier 2 level. You are trying to learn the skills of tier 1 level, thinking it will be of use to you in tier 2. Do not do that. Go for I want to say software engineering courses, but go for courses that teach you how to build systems. There are very few of them, actually. There are not that many. But the secret sauce of tier 2, to really make it in tier 2, you need to know about deployment. You need to know about latency for your models. You need to know about scalability, right? If you have users on your product or your workflow, you need to learn how to scale them. You need to know how to deploy these to a cloud application or to a cloud provider like AWS, Azure, GCP, something like that, right? You need to know about the cloud. Even if it's like rudimentary knowledge, you don't need the certifications. You don't need maybe a little bit here and there. CCP can definitely help you, right? Just having one kind of certification that could accredit you, that's great to have. But projects which have been deployed to AWS, they matter a lot more than anything else. Then comes tier 3. Right? Tier 3 is the implementer level. This is where people who are not exactly technical, but they understand the different tools that exist within the industry, right? They understand that to build complete applications, you have Lovable. You actually also have Replit. You have Base 64. You have all these different tools. And what the implementer level is able to do is that they are able to determine which tool is best for what scenario. Notion for note taking and brainstorming. That might be a better tool for brainstorming than ChatGPT might be, because over there you can organize everything into well-written documents and you can share those documents with your team. So a person who understands that ChatGPT is actually not the best scenario for brainstorming and creating documents, product roadmaps, and strategy to share with teams, and they understand that Notion is actually a lot better tool for that, they are going to be a much further ahead, and they are going to be able to land AI product manager jobs, right? Product manager jobs, project manager jobs. And that's actually also a really, really big field, which you do not see a lot of applications for. You mostly see them for AI engineers. AI engineers, I would classify as tier 2, where we talked about the builder level, but a lot of those jobs actually can also come into tier 3, which is the implementer level. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need to know how to build automations. You need to know what tools exist and what tools and in which combination is suitable for the work that you need to do for your current company, for your current client, and to build what you need to build. If you're in tier 2, I highly recommend building projects, but not just toy projects which sit on your computer. You need to learn about deployment. You need to know about Docker. Kubernetes is a good plus. It's a very, very strong plus, but at least Docker, containerizing your application, knowing the differences between a front end and a back end and what you need for both of these ends of your application, knowing how to scale them, knowing latency, knowing how to deploy them to a particular service like AWS, for example, and just building a working workflow that exists somewhere on the cloud. That is gold for you. That is the number one thing you should be focusing on. Do not focus on LLM architecture. Don't do that. Right? Don't try to build or mimic an LLM or build an NLP model from scratch. Build a deep learning model from scratch. Not the way to go.